Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Day 1 of TechInnovation 2021. My name is Alvin Un, and I'm your host for today. We will be starting the next segment on crowdsourcing at TechInnovation 2021 shortly. Crowdsourcing at TechInnovation 2021 brings together global corporates, innovative startups, and SMEs to solve various business challenges from sustainable packaging and decarbonization. Each speaker will be given 10 minutes to present. This crowdsourcing session will be an interactive one with a short Q&A segment following each presentation. Should you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the Q&A feature on your screen. You may continue to post the questions after the respective presentation session is over. An IPI representative will follow up with you after this session. Without further ado, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Mariana Villar, Sustainability Manager at WS Audiology, to share their challenge statement on seeking solutions for more sustainable packaging. Mariana?
Thank you for that nice introduction. So as said before, my name is Mariana Villar. I'm the Sustainability Manager at WS Audiology, and I'm going to pose you our challenge, which is to increase the content of recycled material in our packaging. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the company, and then we'll pose to you our challenge. So first of all, about WS Audiology, we are a hearing aid developer, manufacturer, and we also sell our hearing aid devices. We produce around 5 million units every year, which make us the market lead in terms of volume. We are in 125 markets globally, and we also have about 11,000 employees. As we are the merge of two big hearing aid manufacturers, which are Widex and Sivantos, we have two HQs, which one is in Denmark and another one is in Singapore. But why are hearing aids important? So according to the World Health Organization, in the world currently, there are about 500 people who have some type of hearing loss. And these can affect several parts of their lives. So it can affect the way they can learn, the way they work. It can affect their everyday life. And of course, this can impact society. The number of people who have hearing loss, some type of hearing loss, and need a hearing aid for it, it's projected to double by 2050. So we have a big need for hearing aids currently, and it is for sure an important medical device to produce. So a little bit about WSA and its sustainability goals. So first of all, we contribute to the following sustainable development goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And specifically with this challenge, we want to tackle SDG number 12 and number 13, which are responsible consumption and production and climate action. And we have the ambition of becoming the most sustainable hearing aid company globally. For these, of course, packaging is very important to us. So now I'm going to pose to you our challenge, which is to increase the amount of recycled material or a sustainable material in our jewel case. So each one of our hearing aids comes inside a jewel case, as you can see in the image. And currently this jewel case is produced with virgin ASA plastic. So we have had a lot of issues searching for a polymer or another type of material that is white in color. We have not had issues with other colors, but white has been an issue for us. And we want to pair with another company or a startup or a development company to find a more sustainable material, either bioplastic, recycled, or similar. So just to give you a small introduction or an idea of how much these jewel cases are used, they have a lifespan of 3 to 8 years, and they should withstand daily usage and long-term wear and tear. So people they carry their hearing aids in these cases, so they carry them around, and we expect them to use these at least twice a day. So about the technical requirements, as I said before, the new material should either partially or fully replace virgin ASA. So at least replace it in 60 to 70%. It should be of pure white color. That is very important. We have to follow some aesthetic demand on our products. It should be compatible with injection molding processes. It should also be mechanically stable, so it should be able to withstand more than 3 drops from a height of 0.75 meters on both the opening mechanism and at a 45 degree angle from the opening side. It should also be durable while opening it, so it should last at least 5,000 repeated openings and closures. More of the technical requirements. It should pass a lacquer scratch test. So the lacquering on the material should be able to withstand abrasion in accordance to ASTM F235704. About the printability, the material should allow for printing on its surface, preferably via laser printing, but open to other solutions. Color leaching, it should not leach, so all the printings on the material should not leach any color, and it will be tested by so we tested by wiping with foam, wipe it with a foam that will be moistened with sweat. Of course, it will be with sweat, as this is the fluid that is in contact with it. And color should not remain on the foam. And smell, all the material for our jewelry cases should not release any smell. So there will be tests performed on smell for the material. And that would be it for me.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for that presentation. Now we do have some time for some questions for you. So we have a couple of questions coming through just for you. We have from Stephen Lee. Hi, Mariana. Could you share what are some of the solutions that WSA has tried and its limitations?
Yes, so we work with distributors, right? So we have distributors that create these materials for us. And we have not found in the market any solution that fits our key requirements. As I said before, we have high quality standards. These are cases that should be durable. So we actually have not found and have not tried any other solutions because they have not fit our quality requirements, specifically for white material.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, maybe you can expand a little bit more on your requirement of it being why does it need to be a white color for WSA?
It's mainly marketing purposes. We have several brands. Each brand has its own identity. Each brand has to communicate something to its user, and specifically we have the Signia brand that, as shown in the image, the color that represented it's white. So it's because of marketing.
Right.
That's why we have these requirements.
Okay. We have another question for you from Alvin Howe. Is WSA open to using other plastic materials other than ASA for the jewel case?
Yes, so our requirement it's that it is more sustainable. As I said before, that it has some percentage of recycled content, or it's either a bioplastic. It has some percentage of a bioplastic, and those are the requirements. As long as it is more sustainable than than ASA plastic, that is good.
Okay, a few more questions for you from Yeoh and Yeoh. Will you be open to consider to 3D printing, which can be customized and highly personalized?
So we currently, as our production is very high, as I said before, we develop around 5 million devices every year. And each of these devices, they come with a jewel case, right? So, and of course, not all of them will be, the packaging, the casing will not be white for all of them. But we do have some manufacturing requirements that we already follow. And we also have a very big volume. So we have not considered 3D printing for that. That's why we do injection molding, because of the volume that we manage.
Right. Okay, a question from Ben Tan. Is there a targeted cost, perhaps an estimation of the proposed solution?
Yes, so as I said before, we have a big volume. We need a big volume of this material, and we have not projected costs, but we of course want to have a cost-effective solution, as cost-effective as possible. But we are open to any solution. If you have a solution that you think it might be a bit costly, it's fine. Like, just approach us and we can discuss it.
Yes.
Maybe if it's cost-effective, then it's. Yeah. We are open to it.
Definitely. There's some discussion that will be necessary for that. I'm sure you're open to it as well. Now, one more question before we move on to our next presenter from Stephen Colson. He appreciates your presentation, but what progress have you made on increasing the life cycle of the electronic components and making them reusable?
Yes, so, well, this is outside packaging. That is like another topic, but I can just talk about it a bit more. So right now we have, for our hearing aids, the outer part always has to be replaced, just as a hygiene measurement. But we already have a reverse logistics system in place for devices that are for repair and for devices that are for that get back to us, that do not, that people just return them. But currently we are trying to introduce to that reverse logistics system end-of-life devices. So devices that are old and people return to their hearing care professional. The hearing care professional is the person that fits the device for these people. And we are actually doing a pilot project to get a sample of these devices and see how much of the internal components can be used. So it's a work in progress, but we are already doing something about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariana, for that presentation. Once again, everybody, Mariana Villar from WS Audiology. Thank you very much for those of you who have also asked the questions. Keep your questions coming, because we will be taking them on post this event. Moving on to our next presenter, speaking on seeking sustainable and integrated solutions to solve challenges across the agriculture and forestry value chains. We have Felicia Yeoh, Global Business and Sales Development Manager, Agriculture and Forestry of Shell.
Thank you, Adrian. And of course, a very good morning, afternoon, and evening to all of you on the line, wherever you are located. I hope all of you are keeping well. And I think the first reaction that I know most folks have is Shell has an agriculture and forestry section. And that's why, I would like to share with you more about the journey that Shell has to build this particular sector and the work that we're looking to achieve with your help, of course. These are the aspirations that the company as a whole, has aspired to achieve, and most of these are consistent with the current situation that we are in today. Net zero emissions, against the backdrop of a net zero climate change scenario that we are looking at. And when you look at climate change and emissions and all of that, I'm sure most of you must have heard about scope 1, 2, 3 emissions. These are just different type of emissions that are either emitted from your own operations or as a function of energy being delivered to supply your own operations or even that of your customers. And I think the way that Shell aspires to achieve the net zero emissions for our business as a whole by 2050 is really not just working on our own, reducing our own emissions, but also working alongside our partners, our customers and suppliers to reduce emissions from their own value chain as well. And again, like I mentioned, it's really against the backdrop of climate change and more recently COVID-19, where we have seen disruption to supply chains and also given some thought around what is it that we truly value. And I think, high quality, good quality food, water, air is one of those things that we can almost not exist without. So in August this year, within Shell, there is a reorganization of some of the teams, and one of the parent organization within the company is what we call sectors and decarbonization, of which agriculture and forestry is one of such team that now sits under this new sector. And as you can see on the screen there, the reason why the company has formed this new sector or form a team to service this new sector is really looking at the greenhouse gas emissions that come forth on a global scale. And like what I mentioned before, I think for agriculture and forestry, what we aim to do is, really being able to identify and offer to our customers and suppliers and partners decarbonization options along every leg of our A&F value chain. Different ways that we'll do, we would, co-create, in fact, a lot of the solutions. There are offers that we currently have within the business. That would be our elemental sulfur business, where we trade on, from our equity barrel right out from our refinery. There's also Thiagro, which is our proprietary sulfur enhanced fertilizer technology that I'll like to share a bit more with you in the subsequent slides. And we have been working with different customers to co-create and also to test some of these solutions that we are working towards and to offer to the rest of our customers within the sector. The industry challenges, I think, are not foreign to all of us. If we start from the top right, really as a, in agriculture, and both agriculture and forestry, I think, have strict regulations. As it relates to agriculture, there's the standard around food safety and the quality of the product that comes out from the crops. On forestry as well, there is also clear guidance given around forested areas and what do we do about biodiversity, that the communities that rely on both agriculture and forestry. Within agriculture as well, there is a need, as we look to have a population boom, then how do we talk about increasing yields given the very finite arable land that we have? And actually it's interesting because I think between agriculture and forestry, there's always a certain tension because, again, like I mentioned, land area on earth is finite. So how do you then balance between having enough land or having enough to produce crops and biofuels and all of that, on the agricultural lands while still preserving our forested areas? If we move to the bottom left, we talk about how, again, this sector, really accounts for at least 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions that we see coming out from the sector. Again, with climate change, COVID impact, as well as even things like dietary changes, with the rise of plant-based or even lab-based protein, such as impossible meats. How do you also take all this into consideration and ensure that we as a company and we as a team continue to put out there, yield maximization for crops and safeguard all the good things that we have in crops and forestry. And of course, notwithstanding as well, biofuels. Now I think, we have moved off move on since from the first generation of biofuels, where there used to be that tension again between agriculture crop land and crops that you grow for biofuels. But now we have gone on to novel crops and the like. The shell solutions that we have to date, we kind of put it neatly on the visual that you see here. We've looked at it in 3 different classification, if I can call it. So there's the input leg of it. So you see on the bottom left text that you see there, there is the elemental sulfur that we bring in. For those of you who are familiar with fertilizer formula, you'll know that it comes typically NPK. Sulfur is a enhancer where it's also one of the nutrients where it really supports yield maximization. And of course, from an input perspective, with all the tractors and trailers, harvesters that you see on site, that's also what we have in terms of fleet solutions and lubricants and fuels and all of the good things that you see in other shell businesses. Right now in the middle patch, we have what we call on-site. So there's anything that goes onto the farm and onto the forest. Again, you see over there, TireGrow, our fertilizer licensing technology. And you see, other renewable energy options that we have via our renewable and energy sources team. There's also other offers that we have around Machine Max, Remote Sense, and carbon neutral farming, something that we are looking to co-create and pilot pretty soon. On the output bit of it, most of you might have heard about, the whole carbon credit marketplace. How do you sequester carbon, and then how do you get those carbon credits to be traded, bought, purchased to offset some of your harder to abate sectors? This is something that within Shell we have it as well via our nature-based solutions team. And last but not least, under output is certainly the waste to other uses. I think in agriculture and forestry, there is different sorts of residues or waste from the sector. There have been technologies about taking those inputs or residues and converting them into biofuels via our own IH2 technology. And these are some of the things, both input, on-site, and output that we have seen that we can make avail to our customers as part of the decarbonization journey and options that we could provide to them. This is sulfur, as I mentioned, the elemental sulfur that comes out from our refineries around the world. And also TireGrow, the fertilizer licensing technology that I spoke to you about. We have worked with key partners to, establish baseline for greenhouse gas emissions, yield maximization, and out in Asia where we are really a big rice consuming population, that we look at arsenic reduction in rice cultivation as well. And last but not least, soil reclamation. Again, with finite land, arable land, how do you make sure that these continue to remain, fertile for crops cultivation? And this is some of the ways of or uses that we see for TireGrow. And so what Shell is seeking today, I know I've talked extensively about what we currently have, which is sulfur and TireGrow. But if we really look along the value chain, all things I believe start from soil carbon health. And so, moving down the list, as you see on screen there, we are really looking for ways where we can do MRV for soil carbon. And then in that space in itself, when we think about soil carbon sequestration and having those credits as offset, how do we make sure that we reduce any greenhouse gas emissions, capture any soil carbon that is sequestered, and perhaps put that in the marketplace where we can look at sale of carbon credits. That's the offsetting element that you see over there in the third bullet point. And I think last but not least, we talk about smart farming. I think it was the Cargill CEO who said that, for agriculture, the key is really in technology. And there are different aspects to technology. And I think one of you've seen on the slide earlier where we talk about, increasingly the practice of agriculture has pivoted to precision farming. Alongside precision farming, there is also smart farming, vertical farming, and vertical farming, again, in the space where arable land may be limited, you talk about building it upwards, and that is particularly pertinent in cities like Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and all of the like. And so with that, we'll break for happy to take on any questions, and I certainly look forward to hearing your suggestions, proposals, and see how we can move forward to achieving our aspiration together.
Thank you, Felicia, for that presentation. We do have a few questions coming in, and we have 5 minutes to address them. The first one, could you share what are some of the resources and support that Shell provides to test and evaluate a proposed solution?
So in terms of support in-house, we have our own projects and technologies team. They look at both, the soundness of the methodology, and they have links with other academia. So that's around perhaps the around the tech support level bit. With regards to piloting, Shell being Shell, we do have what we call global key accounts or strategic alliance accounts with many of the big players out there. So who are major grain producers. So for us to bring some of the technologies, put it to a field trial, these are some things that we are already doing. We have 2 customer workshops with work streams in different areas in agriculture and forestry being tested. So this would be some of the avenues that we would also be able to provide in terms of rolling out some of these deployment solutions.
Now, the next question that we have for you, do the proposed solutions need to be compatible with Diogro?
No, it doesn't. So the reason why I mentioned sulfur and Tigro is also to give a sense of, because I did mention that Shell A&F is new. So it's not entirely new. There is a base where we work off. But again, our play is really in agriculture and forestry. So any solution or service that is within the space is down for fair play. So it doesn't have to be integrated with Tigro.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
Advanced post-harvest storage solutions would have avalanche effect on the whole food supply chain, less waste or losses, or smoothened supply and demand ratio, higher resilience, reduced energy consumption. Are there efforts in this direction part of your challenge statement?
We could look at those, in terms of a storage facility, but again, I think perhaps going back to our origin or the genesis for why Shell has gone on the decarbonization journey, it's really, with the idea of, decarbonization and greenhouse gas emissions in line of sight. And so while I agree storage, I think is a way to smooth out any inventory, peaks and troughs. But really our eye on the game is really decarbonization and all of that. And I think solutions that allow, yield maximization. So for, the same unit of fertilizer or inputs that we put to the crops, anything that we can get more out of, I think that's really an angle more of what we're pursuing. Not discounting the storage piece, but I think that is just one element to the whole puzzle.
Okay. Thank you very much, Felicia, for your presentation and
Thank
answering the questions. Thank you. That was Felicia Yeoh from Shell. We'd like to remind attendees to submit your questions on the challenge statements through the Q&A feature. Next, seeking solutions to reduce the energy consumption of ice cream freezer cabinets and seeking global asset tracking solutions for ice cream freezer cabinets, we have the Senior R&R Manager of Unilever. Please welcome Bertie Jacob.
Thank you, Alvin. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone out there. Thank you for joining this session. I'm sure the 2 earlier presenters were brilliant, and I hope I can do justice to the 2 challenges we have from Unilever as well. I'm actually supported by Isabella, my colleague, with the slides, so thank you, Isabella, for that. So if you could move on, please. So we have two challenges today. And before I present those challenges, a quick intro and overview of who I represent. You've heard of Unilever. It is amongst the other categories that we delve in, it is one of the largest ice cream manufacturers in the world, and we bring smiles to 1 billion people in over 40 countries. And I'm sure at the end of this presentation and at the end of the session, you'll all go out there and have a Magnum or a Solero or a Cornetto in the heat of Singapore. Now, every day, millions of people and consumers choose our products, and these come from our frozen ice cream cabinets that are located at the point of sale, which could be at your local baker, it could be in a beach, in a kiosk in a beach, it could be at a kiosk in a zoo, or in a convenience store around the corner. We also have mobile units, which are push carts and trikes, and we want these selling systems, as we call them, to deliver ice cream at the perfect quality and the perfect temperature. So today's challenge is really related to this area of our ice cream freezer cabinets. I also like to tell people in my first presentation when I introduced that Unilever is actually the biggest retailer in the world. It's not the Tesco's or the Walmart or Sainsbury's. And I say that because we have 3 million ice cream cabinets around the world, and everywhere we place more of these, we actually own that piece of retail space. So, but that is half in jest. But the more important aspect is this also brings us challenges, both on cost and capex, and of course on the sustainability elements and on the energy consumption. And that is where our challenge rests for today. Next slide, please, Isabel. So before I move on and go into the details of the challenge, just to give you an appreciation of the Unilever ice cream cold chain. This is the chain, and at every step of the day, we contribute to the global greenhouse gas emissions. Moving from manufacturing, our trucks that move from our warehouses and cold stores to our distributors and concessionaires, and then as they deliver to both in-home and out-of-home consumption. Now, in-home is typically supermarkets and grocery, and out-of-home is where we place our cabinets in the retail trade and where we own our cabinets. And the focus today is on the out-of-home area, the out-of-home channels, where we place these 3 million ice cream cabinets. Next slide, please. So what are the challenges we have here? The first challenge is we are looking to reduce the energy consumption of these ice cream cabinets. These cabinets contribute to almost 10% of Unilever's greenhouse gas footprint, and that is because they consume energy. We have the element that they also use a refrigerant, which escapes, and that's the indirect emissions, which has been looked at, and I'll give you an overview of what we have done in that area as well. The scope of this challenge is really looking at what are technical solutions that are available out there in terms of the compressors, the refrigerants, the fan motors, the insulation that prevents heat ingress, everything to do with controllers that can actually regulate the temperature of the ice cream cabinet, and of course the glass panels. Now it's important to mention here that visibility is key. Ice cream is an impulse category. And if you go out there, you see ice cream cabinets with glass. People are looking. We spend millions on ice cream packaging, exciting packaging, which showcases our products, and therefore important that people and consumers can see this product. But that also requires this to be with glass lid cabinets. And therefore, as you know, glass is a very poor insulator. The heat ingress, 40% of the heat goes in through the glass, and that means a higher energy consumption. So are there solutions out there that we can actually mitigate and reduce this impact? What is the opportunity? As I said, we have 3 million ice cream cabinets globally. We add a large fleet every year to this, both as replacement and as addition in growing the business in terms of new channels. And that is where the opportunity lies. If you can move on to the next slide, please. So just to give you an idea, an overview of what we've done in our energy reduction journey, starting from 2008. Actually, the journey goes back far ahead in 1998 when Unilever pioneered the use of hydrocarbon cabinet refrigerants in our cabinets, which gave us almost 10 to 12% energy reduction. And over the years, we've worked on different projects to call it the lean and green, the lean being the cost element, and the green is actually reducing the carbon impact. Moving into natural refrigerants, we moved in components which are energy efficient, insulation, and designs where we can have a night lid that prevents heat ingress, which gave us almost 50% saving. And over the years, we moved into optimizing everything from compressors, the glass, the fan motors. And looking ahead, we're looking at two big technologies. One is variable speed compressors, and the other is the use of renewable energy, which is basically solar PV panels. So these are some of the areas that we're working on. We'll give you more information as we go ahead. So in a nutshell, if you move on, next slide, please. In terms of the technical requirements, I won't go into the details here. I'm sure this has already been shared with you. Our cabinets operate in conditions of up to 40 degrees ambient in many countries with very high relative humidities. So we want the energy consumption. Current cabinets have an average consumption of about 2 kilowatt hours, 2 units. I think we want to actually lower that. And we're looking at, as I said, everything from insulating materials, compressors, and all aspects of the design. Safety is key, and of course, these units have to meet all these local and global regulatory standards. These cabinets are not high-tech rocket science. They use the standard vapor compression systems. And they're relatively low priced, between 120 to 400 euros. Therefore, any on cost would need to really be considered very carefully. We are looking to test in 2022, and then any solutions that are available that we can then take into industrialization in 2023. So that's really the first challenge, and I hope that you've got an idea of that. Let's move on to the next one, Isabella. Yeah, the second challenge again relates to our ice cream cabinets. As I said, we have 3 million ice cream cabinets. One of the issues we have is we tend to lose some of these cabinets out there in not knowing where they are, because they are across all these countries and in different channels. So is there a way that we can find a low-cost solution, and we say really low cost, up to a maximum of 10 euros on cost, to know where these cabinets are located in real time, and therefore solve the issue that we have of cabinets that get lost or stolen from points of sale. Again, in terms of the opportunity, we have a cabinet fleet of 3 million. We would like to start retrofitting this. So ideally a retrofit solution so that we can go and put this on all our units out there in the market. And also on the new. It should be a simple system that can be retrofitted, and also a system that as we produce new cabinets every year, that they can be fitted on by the manufacturer. We'd like to start with a small sample size of about 200 units to test, and then roll this out as soon as the system is proven. Next slide, please, Isabella. Yeah, again, as I said, this should be an easy retrofittable solution. We don't want to spend huge amounts of money sending technical people out there taking out the cabinet, because they're already out in the market. So it should be a very easy and quick solution that can be retrofitted for the existing cabinets. Again, like in all aspects, it should meet all global and local legislation. A battery life. Now, this is important. Our cabinets typically work for between 8 to 10 years. So we don't want any intervention during this period. And therefore, once fitted, we'd like to see that working over 8 years. And then, of course, meeting all the regulations that I mentioned earlier. Cost targets, a very low cost solution at 10 euros per cabinet and easily retrofittable. And again, like in the previous challenge, we are up for a quick test and development, and then taking this into in industrial application for 2023. So what we're looking in these two challenges are, as I said, the first one in reducing energy consumption of our cabinets, and the other is finding a way to track our 3 million cabinets out there and the new ones that we add. Small changes that could give us huge impact. So that really is that. I hope this is this is giving you an idea of what we're looking for, and I look forward to taking some questions. Over to you, Alvin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bertie, for that presentation. Now, checking on our system, we do have a question for you. How do you see Unilever working with solution providers on these problem statements moving forward?
That's an interesting question, because we have always encouraged working with in an open innovation way. And that has been, especially in the group that we work in within ice cream, we partner a lot of new companies, startups, and open innovation. The want, find, get, manage is at the heart of everything we do, because we know we don't have everything. We are experts in ice cream and in formulation, but in some of these we look out to partners. So yes, to that question, we are very open to working with partners, working hand in hand, taking solutions, developing it together, and implementing it.
And everybody loves ice cream. So moving on, we have another question for you. For energy efficiency, are you targeting to retrofit the existing cabinets, or do the solutions need to improve the performance of the next generation of cabinets that will be produced in the future?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and I think from 2 points of view. One, our existing cabinets, are sitting in these outlets, and the last thing we would want is bringing them back and retrofitting. But I'm sure there are solutions which perhaps people can go out there and do it in a very simple manner without being too disruptive to the point of sale. Because you remember, we do not want to move or disrupt a cabinet that is already selling ice cream. So I think it would be fair to say that these are solutions that we'll be looking for our new cabinets that we produce every year, that we add on. But having said that, if there are simple solutions that can be retrofitted, we'll be up for it, and we'll be very happy to encourage and use those.
Okay. Now, the next question is about challenge number 2. Does Unilever team have a plan to track other information such as temperature, humidity of your ice cream cabinets besides the location info of these freezers?
Yes, absolutely. Again, this is not the first time we've looked at it. We have solutions which have been tested. The three key areas that would be of interest for us is location, performance of the cabinet, and you mentioned temperature. So whether it's a compressor runtime, the performance of the compressor, the temperature inside the cabinet, and also perhaps the sales. How much do these cabinets sell? Is there a way we can, every time a door is opened, do we know how much the ice cream is sold? Can we track the stock? But we realize having put all these requirements would add a huge amount of cost, which is why, if you noticed in my challenge statement, we said cost is a key element. And we've actually put a ceiling of 10 euros because we think that's the best. And yes, if we can have all the three solutions, all the three aspects for that, we'll accept it. But I'm conscious that that may be a big challenge. So our immediate aspect is cost is the key driver, and within that to give us the location of these cabinets. But yes, performance and sales, both the technical performance and sales performance of the cabinet are also important factors we'd definitely like to consider.
One more question that just came in, also something to do with cost. Any estimated cost and lifetime expected for the proposed solution?
I'm assuming this is for the second challenge?
Yeah, I suppose so, yes. It doesn't say so, but yes, possibly.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the presentation, our cabinets have a lifetime of around 8 to 10 years. So once fitted, we'd like this unit to go through this lifetime of 8 to 10 years.
Okay, one last question for you. Are these innovations in-house, or is it in collaboration with other startups?
We do a lot of innovation in-house, but we are conscious that there are partners out there who have good ideas, fantastic solutions that we could actually incorporate. And we like to apply technologies and solutions that come from outside our ice cream industry. So yes, we are open to work, as I mentioned earlier, with partners out there, startups and people who have an idea, and to build it together or even use an available solution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bertie, for your presentation and answering all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin.
And that was Bertie Jacob from Unilever. Thank you all for the very engaging session. If you have any more questions, please continue to share them with us through the Q&A feature on your screen. Please note that the proposal submission deadline is the 31st of December 2021. Now, to view more details about the challenge statements, visit the Crowdsourcing at TechInnovation Challenge portal at innovation-challenge.sg/TechInnovation2021. We have come to the end of the crowdsourcing presentations. Thank you to our speakers and to all attending this webinar for your active participation today. Please click on the info button on your screen to submit a rating out of 5 stars and your feedback before exiting this session or joining the next one. For attendees who will be joining us at our next thematic session on smart and sustainable built environment, we will see you at 3 p.m. Singapore time. Thank you.